I'm Ivonne Hamoud, registered social worker and owner of New Moon Counseling. But out of the office, I'm a mom, wife, daughter, sister, and friend. Join me each week as I sit with a special guest to discuss everyday things that impact our mental health. We'll be chatting about everything from mental health and relationships to media and current events, as well as personal experiences and reflections, all in the hopes of normalizing our humanness and helping you see that you're not alone. This is Outside the Therapy Room. Hi everyone, welcome to Outside the Therapy Room. Today I am by myself. I'm doing a solo episode and I'm a little bit nervous, but I think it'll be nice to have some solo episodes here and there throughout the season. Today our topic is on birthdays. So birthdays have actually been quite a discussion, in my life, both in the therapy room and outside of the therapy room. In the therapy room, there's been a lot of conversations and planning for, clients' birthdays because they're feeling certain ways about their birthdays or because, they're upset with how people are responding around them about their birthdays. And in my own personal life, my birthday celebrations have changed so much in my life. And sometimes they have been exciting and I've wanted to celebrate and be the center of attention. And other times I don't want to, and I'm uncomfortable being the center of attention, or I become really disappointed or upset around my birthday or feel strong feelings about my birthday. So I thought, I wanted to kind of normalize how birthdays can be. I think a lot of the time birthdays are talked about in such an exciting way that your birthday's coming up. This is super exciting. And when we think about birthdays, we think about celebration. We think about cake and food and gathering and, having loved ones around and presents and all of these things. But what isn't talked about as often, or what some people can sometimes hide, are the struggles that are associated with birthdays and the feelings of sadness, anxiety, depression, disappointment, grief, loneliness that can come from birthdays or upcoming birthdays. So I thought I would share a little bit about what I have heard both inside and outside the therapy room, and then kind of talk a little bit more about what birthday depression is. So some things that I have heard from social media posts, thank you all for kind of, sharing your questions or your comments. But throughout my kind of, life as a therapist and as Ivonne, I have heard people feeling let down on their birthday. So they either don't get text messages, they don't get happy birthday notes, they don't get the gifts that they were looking forward to, and so they kind of feel let down on their birthday. People compare their birthdays to others, to either other friends or people on social media. The people in their lives aren't celebrating or planning things the way that they would have wanted to. Or the way that they've planned them before in previous years. People not able to attend or don't remember your birthday, and that can be disappointing and upsetting. Expecting people to celebrate you like you celebrate them. This is a big one, I think, comes up a lot because we expect to be treated the way we would treat other people, but that's not realistic. We are not other people. And so when we go above and beyond to celebrate for someone, that just may not be something that they're capable of doing. And it's not personal. It's just that's not part of that person. So that expectation of having other people celebrate you like you would celebrate them can lead to a lot of, again, disappointment and grief and frustration and maybe even anger. Grief for not having friends, family, or partner members do what you long for. So if you've always wanted a surprise birthday party and you've thrown hints around here and there and the people in your life are still not giving you that, that can be quite frustrating. And you have that grief if, another family or another person in your life has a surprise birthday party planned for them. So there can be some resentment and some negative feelings attached to that too. Birthday celebrations can also change when you become a parent. And the focus may be on pleasing your kiddos and your partner with how they want to celebrate you, or the role of party planner is yours and for the family. And when it comes time to planning your birthday, it may not be the way that you do it for other people. So bringing that back to the wanting people to celebrate you the way that you celebrate them. But it can also just, a lot at this, I think it happens more. I'm going to make this assumption that it can happen more with mothers, because we are often the ones that kind of are holding up the fort and getting everything done, to have the family function. That's not always the case. I know there's other parents out there that are taking on that role, but then when it comes to us needing to be celebrated, it can be a difficult kind of change of roles. Birthdays can also be hard when we really need control for what's going to happen in our day, because we may be a little bit more receptive to having surprises or things that we don't know about when the people in our lives, whether that be our friends, family, or partner, may want to surprise us, and do that in that way. And when we're needing control, it may not go the way that everyone is kind of hoping it would. So there's been kind of a new term, and it's called birthday depression. And birthday depression refers to feelings of sadness, loneliness, anxiety, depression, or I already said depression, and grief, disappointment that some people experience around or on their birthday. Again, this is normal. It's normal to experience the opposite feelings of excitement, celebration, and all of those wonderful things that can come. It's completely okay for you to feel that way. Sometimes we're feeling grief. We might have lost people that we love, and we're not able to celebrate our birthday with them anymore. And that can be really, really sad and upsetting. Or we don't have the same group of people in our lives anymore. And I think I can relate to that one, because I do remember I planned my own 17th birthday. We went out to eat at a restaurant that I really enjoyed at the time. And it was an enormous table. There were like 15 people there. And then fast forward to like my 20s, my boyfriend, now husband, at the time was trying to plan a birthday for me, but I was kind of feeling some grief and some loneliness because I didn't have that same group of friends, and I had very few friends, and friends that I maybe wouldn't have even wanted to come to my birthday because we weren't on that level yet. And so I remember kind of feeling that grief of like, oh, like a few years ago, this table was full of people and now I don't talk to them anymore for a variety of reasons. And it can just kind of bring up those feelings of loneliness and grief, and sadness. Like I said before, feelings of disappointment can be quite big when it comes to birthdays. We can have high expectations for the people around us celebrating our birthday. We can have high expectations for what those celebrations are going to have. And we can also have high expectations for the gift that we're going to be given. I think an example of this one is an episode of New Girl where Jess is dating Nick, and it's her birthday, and I think it's it's a flashback to Cece giving her like a sweater, and she reads the label on the sweater and it said made from China, and she's like, oh my God, made from China? You're taking me to China? And Cece's like, no, it's just a sweater. But there can be this high expectation that we have for the people around us that isn't always realistic. And so when we don't have that expectation met, there's a lot of feelings of disappointment and sadness and frustration and maybe even resentment towards that person. We may also really be uncomfortable with attention. So even though we do want to be celebrated, our discomfort with all of this attention that is focused on us on our birthdays can be overwhelming. And we might feel great, but it can also bring up feelings of overwhelm, anxiety, and kind of freeze sometimes and numb in that moment because of our discomfort. Childhood trauma associated with our birthdays can also be something that impacts our depression or sadness. If we experience some childhood trauma around our birthdays, or if we have kind of a bad association with birthdays because of a situation that happened when we were young, that those feelings, the apprehension, or, our body sometimes remembers how it felt during those situations. So some of that may come up a little bit more, and it can just kind of make us look at our birthdays in a different way. So it might not be fully exciting. It might be a day that we don't really want to remember. It may be, a reason why as adults we choose not to celebrate our birthdays, or to kind of, keep it low key and not do much. So it's important to, again, reflect on, is there a reason why I'm feeling this way about my birthday? And is it associated to some childhood trauma or childhood experience I had around my birthday? With birthdays, we're obviously celebrating us becoming a year older, and aging and life anxiety is very real. And we can feel that, especially around birthdays and big milestone ones, because we're either, fearful of aging. When we are aging, we can, like, obviously we are noticing that we are aging, but it can also remind us that the people in our lives, our parents, our family members, our partner, our children, are also growing. And this can, like, kind of this reality and this like focus in on us aging can, like, lead to fear and sadness and existential thoughts and anxiety. And depending again on any expectations that we have of ourselves around certain ages or milestones in our lives, we can also have feelings of regret if we're not there. So an example of that is, getting married or starting a family by the age of 35 or whatever. I'm just throwing numbers out there. But if you're turning 35 and you're not there yet or close to there yet, it can be really, really upsetting. Again, because I love shows and movies and love to associate things to that. I think another example of this exact feeling is the Friends episode where they all turned 30, and Rachel's birthday celebration, it was exciting. And then it turned into very, like, her questioning where she is in her life, because she was hoping to be married or to have a relationship by the time she's 30. And in the middle of her birthday, I don't even think they blew out the candles or anything yet, she was like, well, I wanted to be married by the time I'm 30, and I want to date the person for this long. And, I want to meet the person, or I want to have known them before we started dating. And then Ross jokingly takes out 2 candles and says, it's okay because you're 28. But there can be, again, a lot of this pressure that comes to us from ourselves or from society, from our family, to kind of have this, deadline of, by the time you turn this age, these are the things that you should have. And when we don't, and when we haven't met certain goals that we had for ourselves, we can feel, regret. We can feel disappointed. We can feel anxious about our future and what we have planned, down the road. So that can bring up a lot of different mixed feelings. You, again, like I said, you can feel behind on life plans, have a fear of getting older, feel pressure for the future, having certain goals and plans done. So it can kind of add this extra feeling of pressure to, meet it by the next deadline you may have for yourself. And like I mentioned before around childhood birthdays, if you didn't have a good experience with your childhood birthdays, or if they were not celebrating, or if they were not celebrated, as a kiddo, you draw those comparisons and you see that other kids may have had big celebrations on their birthdays. And that could be for a variety of reasons. Maybe your family at that time didn't have the finances to have this big gathering, were unable or incapable of doing that. There may be other situations where the parents maybe were a little more neglectful and didn't want to have those celebrations for you. But as an adult, when you have that chance and that opportunity of control, you might stop celebrating as an adult because it's just too painful to, kind of have all of those memories come flooding back in from your childhood. So now the big question is, what do we do with this? What do we do when we are feeling all of these ways around our birthday? I think, like I said, and the reason why I wanted to make an episode on birthdays was because it's not talked about a lot. A lot of the times it feels, especially in the therapy room, I have clients apologizing or saying, like, I sound so ungrateful. And you don't. If you are feeling all of these ways around your birthday, it doesn't make you ungrateful. It doesn't make you, negative or whatever word you want to associate with it. It makes you human. It makes you, obviously there's something that's coming up for you, and it's important for us to note that. So I would say the very first thing to do is to validate your emotions and give yourself permission to feel how you feel. Some people feel this way weeks leading up to the birthday. Some people feel this way the day before or on the day of their birthday. That's okay. Pay attention to your emotions, label them. How am I feeling right now? Am I disappointed? Am I sad? Am I frustrated? Am I grieving? What is this emotion that you're feeling? And give yourself permission to feel how you feel. And if you need to, communicate that with someone else. Hey, I'm feeling a little down. I'm going to go upstairs. And when you do that, you're able to just do what you need to do to feel how you're feeling. The other one too, as I mentioned, a lot of this kind of falls on expectations that we have of other people. So sometimes it's reflecting on what it is that you're wanting for your birthday. I know in Hollywood and in the movies and all of these romance novels, it's like romanticized for the person you love or like your partner to read your mind and to do the things that you've never told anyone you wanted, but somehow they know. And while that's lovely, it's not realistic. It's not always going to happen. And it's not a fairy tale or a book. It's real life. And sometimes we need to be a little bit direct about what we are needing and what we want our birthdays to be like. So instead of having that expectation that our partner or friends, family member, whoever is going to celebrate us a certain way, we can be direct in communicating what we want. Maybe you want a big extravagant birthday. So a few months leading up to your birthday, you can communicate that and say, hey, I want to have a big party. Let's rent out a place and we can, have dancing and have all of this things happen. And you can communicate that and work together with your partner, your friend, whoever, to get that done and get it planned. You might also want to communicate that there's maybe a particular gift or a particular restaurant you wanted to go to for your birthday. So being able to communicate that and be direct about what it is that you are wanting. And before we communicate it, we need to reflect on that ourselves. So asking ourselves, like, what would we want? How would we want to be celebrated today? What do we want from our partner? And that, as you heard in the identities and in the boundaries episodes, that may change with certain people. With friends, you might want to celebrate one way, but with your partner or with your family, you might want to celebrate a different way. So trying to reflect in all of these different areas of your life, how do you want to be celebrated, and communicating that and seeing if that's something that can happen. And if that person already had a plan, then it's about compromising. How can we do both? Or maybe you'll be like, you know what, actually, let's throw my idea out the window. I love your idea. Let's do that. Or you can be, again, communicating and saying, you know what, actually, like, thank you so much for planning this, but that's not really how I want to spend my day. Can we save that for another date night or for another time we get together? And then again, just, communicating what it is that you are wanting at that time. The other thing that I feel like is very challenging, because we are all guilty of comparing, is letting go of comparing ourselves to other people, especially because on social media, we are only seeing the highlight reels. They are very selective and curated posts that person is deciding to put out there into the world. We don't always get the real, how it actually was the day of like the celebration or whatever. So letting go of comparing ourselves to other people because we don't know if that's actually how it was, but also just keeping in mind what is coming up. Jealousy gets a bad rep, but jealousy can tell us a lot about what it is that we long for and what we're wanting. And so if we do find we're comparing and we are feeling a little jealous or disappointed, that can be a moment of reflection to say, okay, maybe I am feeling a little jealous that this person has, 5 girlfriends that she's able to go and celebrate with. And I'm feeling jealous because I don't have that in my life. And that's okay. But it's also okay for me to feel the way that I'm feeling right now. And that's how I have felt. So hopefully, again, like normalizing this, hopefully is able to allow you to normalize these feelings for yourself. I think the other part too, that because of comparison, Hollywood, all of these expectations, we might feel really uncomfortable with like planning things for ourselves. So planning our own birthday party, it might not be exactly what you're wanting. You might want these things to be planned by someone else, but you'll end up celebrating your birthday the way that you wanted. And so again, that's usually the outcome, is that we want to be celebrated the way we want to. And so expecting and being let down and all of these things are going to lead to us not feeling great, or not being happy with how our birthday was celebrated. So being okay with us planning things for ourselves and knowing that we're going to end up with what we're wanting. And I think the biggest thing is celebrating however you feel comfortable in celebrating. Sometimes people around you may want to have a big, huge bash and a big, huge celebration, but that may not be something you're comfortable with. You might want it to be a little bit more low key. So being able to celebrate your day however you are comfortable and wanting to do. Again, for me, usually on my birthday, I take the day off now that the kids are at school, and my partner's usually working unless I ask him to take the day off. I like to go to the movies by myself. So if there's a good movie out, I'll take myself to the movies, or I'll go to Indigo, which is my favorite store, and pick out a new book. So those are ways that I like to celebrate myself on my birthday. And then obviously like the weekend, sometimes like my family, and not sometimes, most of the time my family and my partner celebrate me another way, but at least I get one day where I can just do what I want to do. So celebrate however you are comfortable. And if I'm a broken record on this, I don't care, because it's okay for you to feel sad or anxious on your birthday. And accepting these emotions is going to be the first step towards addressing them and why they're coming up. And again, set realistic expectations. If your expectations are so high, just catch yourself and say, whoa, okay, are these expectations too high? What is something that is a more normal or realistic expectation? So again, being able to give yourself a celebration that feels right for you, and communicating those things to other people. And again, engaging in self-care. I think that also goes with celebrating your birthday the way you want to. So if it's you enjoying like your favorite hobby, like I have, of going to the bookstore and going to the movies on my own, or spending time in nature, being able to do those things that allow you to engage in self-care. And if this is really, really persistent, if there's still a lot of sadness and grief that happens around your birthday, it's okay to seek help and support. Here at New Moon Counseling, we have amazing therapists, but there are amazing therapists all over the place. So finding a therapist or mental health professional close to you, if you find that these feelings are coming up a lot stronger or consistently, or are more persistent and are interfering with your daily life, then seeking that level of support from a mental health professional can be quite beneficial. So to kind of wrap up, this is normal. It's fine for you to feel the way that you feel on your birthday. You can take control of your day by planning something you like and communicating what you want your birthday to be like. And yeah, sometimes this is an overlooked experience. Birthdays are talked about very positively, and it's okay for you to not always feel positive about your birthday. So by implementing some of the strategies I mentioned and just giving yourself permission to feel how you feel, like that can kind of help you navigate your birthday a little bit differently this year. If you are celebrating a birthday, I wish you a happy birthday, and I hope you're able to give yourself whatever it is that you are needing. Just take care of yourself and pay attention to those feelings. Thank you so much for joining me today. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Outside the Therapy Room Pod, and we will see you next time. Bye. Thank you for listening to Outside the Therapy Room. This podcast is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. If you reside in Ontario and are interested in working with one of our therapists, please visit our website in the show notes. If you reside outside of Ontario, a quick Google search or search through Psychology Today will help you find a therapist near you.